Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Regent Law Podcast. Really excited today to launch a new series on the podcast we're calling Constitutional Conversations. On these series, it's going to be brought to you by me. This is Pat here at the law school, Pat Trumpeter. I'm an assistant dean, and we have with us.
I'm Christian Edmonds. How are you all doing today? I am a professor here at the law school. I teach constitutional law, so that's why I'm here.
Fantastic. And what we're here for is a new series called Constitutional Conversations, where we are trying our best to make constitutional law more approachable for the everyday person. So that's who we are. That's what we're doing this for. So why are we doing this, Christian? In your opinion, why do you think we should be doing this show?
Yeah, I think the key with our name, there's always thought in these names, is approachable, right? Like we want people to feel like this subject is something they can understand. Most people that are interested in this stuff consume constitutional law through the news or through X or Facebook.
Yep.
And everything you get through the news and through Facebook is filtered, right? It's filtered through the lens of whatever media outlet you're consuming.
Frankly, advertising, right? They want you to be interested and want more.
Exactly. And so what we want to do is we want to get down to the nuts and bolts and help people understand what the Supreme Court is saying, what the function of the government is, what are your individual rights. And we want you to know this, from first principles, what it actually means, and not consume it through something that's just, been given by another outlet that might have an agenda.
Yeah, that's a great point. So you brought up, we'll discuss different things because there'll be different types of episodes. We may discuss how the court system in America works. We may talk about some historical cases in constitutional law that really affect Americans' way of life. Some old cases that establish precedents. We'll also do case updates, like when the Supreme Court or maybe some lesser courts they make some opinions. We'll come on here and we'll let you lead the way in doing case updates of what those are happening. I think as a whole, the reason why we're doing this episode is that constitutional law matters. It's an area of law that affects our lives deeply as Americans. It affects our rights, and really, whether we understand it or not, it affects our lives deeply. And to your point, it's actually pretty hard to understand what happens in a case and what did it really establish and what didn't it. And even if it was more easy to understand, what we're hearing about it on the news may be slanted in a different way or packaged in a way for a quick news bite that doesn't really represent it well. So next question, Christian, who might enjoy this podcast? Is this a fantastic podcast for the most intense legal scholars in the country?
No, that's not what we're gearing it for at all. We are not. I do not expect my peers on the third floor of Robertson Hall to consume this media at all. There are over a dozen podcasts that are run by law professors. That's not unique to have a law professor do a podcast. What we're trying to do is we're trying to reach those individuals that are interested in the subject, but maybe not interested enough to go to law school, right? Like, if I think of my father-in-law, we have such great conversations when he visits or we visit over a cup of coffee every morning. And he loves reading, the Wall Street Journal and watching the news. But he doesn't, he doesn't plan on going to law school, and he doesn't plan on reading these opinions in full. And so what we're trying to do is for someone like Greg Fry, my father-in-law, we're trying to reach them. We're trying to show them, in snippets, 10 minutes or less is what we're trying to do, what these cases mean, what actually are your rights, how does this government actually work? So.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. So that's who might enjoy the podcast. So more in depth, who are we? Why are we the experts to be bringing this show? As alluded to, I am no expert on this topic. I am an assistant dean here at Regent Law School in Virginia Beach. If you're not familiar with us, Regent Law School is an excellent law school academically. Couldn't recommend it more. And we are a Christian law school, completely committed to our Christian beliefs and excited to train lawyers to go out to change the world, to bring good in this world, to represent Jesus Christ on the planet. So that's what Regent Law School is. I'm a practicing attorney myself, but not a constitutional law expert. I hope to be a bridge for normal people to understand these topics better, a bridge to my friend here, Christian, who is more of an expert. Please tell us why, Christian.
Well, first, I'll say Pat's underselling himself with who he is. He's awesome, and we're so happy to have him at Region. He's also going to be helping me with my estate planning pretty soon. So he's pretty valuable to me. But so, no, for me, so I came here just last year. Before that, I actually did appeals, mainly dealing with constitutional appeals in state and federal courts. And so when I came here, I took over at teaching constitutional law, also a couple of other courses. But one of my main tasks is running our Robertson Center for Constitutional Law, which is really what we do there. If you're trying to kind of in a nutshell figure out what that center does, we pair scholarship with advocacy. So let me break that down really quickly, Pat. What we try to do every year in the center is we, through our own thoughts and ideas, sitting in the ivory tower, drinking coffee, we come up with how we think the Constitution should be read and what the court should do. And we put out articles. All right, we put out articles that are, we think, helpful for promulgating ideas of originalism and what the Constitution meant at the founding, and how the religion clauses should be interpreted and things of that sort. And then we take our ideas and we put them before the Supreme Court or courts of appeals in briefs, which are called amicus briefs. We just
how do you put your thoughts and theories for the Supreme Court? You're not a law firm, so describe that a little bit more.
Sure. So we pair with law firms, essentially. If many of our listeners will know who Alliance Defending Freedom is, or First Liberty, that deals with a lot of these religious liberty cases. What we'll do is they'll write their brief before the Supreme Court. And, the Supreme Court, they don't have all day. So they have a page limit for what people can put in a brief. And sometimes they can't cover everything they want to cover. One thing we're going to talk about in future podcasts is the use of history in analyzing what rights mean and what the scope of rights are. And so that's a pretty rigorous process, doing historical analysis. And we were approached by First Liberty this summer, and we have helped them by filing a friend of the court brief that is going in more depth on the history, in our case, of prayer before school events, and what is the history of that.
Okay, I'm understanding here. First Liberty, ADF, ACLJ, and let's say more normal law firms, right? Any law firm around the country that's bringing a case before the court representing a person, let's say, who's been injured or has experienced harm, or say their liberty has been affected. They bring a case, it's rising through the ranks, and amicus briefs are where you can write a brief in support that the judges will read in support of this argument. That's what you guys are creating.
That's right. I mean, our briefs I know they've been very influential with certain decisions, and we have written them in a spectrum of cases. We've done Title VII cases with employment discrimination. We've dealt with free exercise cases. We've had Establishment Clause cases. We've had abortion cases, and we've written on a variety of topics, aiding the litigators with putting forward their argument before the court.
And at the highest level, your briefs have made it to the Supreme Court. And I think the most exciting thing for me, and probably some of our listeners, when you say we've written and these have been when you say we, who's writing this, and what do you mean by that, since this is a law school?
Well, students are very involved. That's one of the cool things about running the center. It's not just like a law firm where it's just a group of attorneys that are working together, which nothing against that, but I came here because I felt like I wanted to minister and disciple young people for Christ, young lawyers for Christ. And one of the things that I get to do that's really cool with the center is I'm able to mentor, disciple, and lead law students in producing really great work product that the Supreme Court is going to read. And our interns, they are not just doing Google and Westlaw searches and writing me little email memos. They are helping us draft these briefs that the Supreme Court will hear and read. And so I have 4 interns this summer, and they're involved heavily with helping me write these briefs, specifically the one we're doing right now.
So in theory, high school or college student right now who's interested in potentially going to law school, if they're listening to this, I mean, in theory, there's no promises here, but they could come to Regent Law School, become an intern, join your team, and something they've written could be read by a Supreme Court justice?
Yes, it was so great. We were filing a brief earlier this year in a parental rights free exercise case, and one of the interns, he came to me a few days after we filed. And he goes, "That's my paragraph. That's my paragraph in there. I wrote that." And I said, "Yes, because it was great. We're not going to take your great work out." And so, yes, we rely on the writings and the brilliant minds of our students every day in the center.
So cool. And so cool. And circling back, and the reason I think this is really cool is not so academics can just have fun and have coffee. It's that constitutional law, thoughts and ideas before the court, after decision, it changes the rights of Americans. It changes the way we live. It changes our relationship to government. Okay, so that's helpful. So that's who we are. I hope to be a bridge and a host for this show, along with Christian, who's going to bring us some more knowledge in this area of con law. And let's see, types of episodes, case updates, and stuff like that. So that's really it. That's our intro episode. Constitutional conversations, making constitutional law approachable. We hope you'll enjoy it. We'll help you join us on these episodes, that you enjoy it, and that you'll learn more about your constitutional rights. To learn more about Regent Law School or the Robertson Center for Constitutional Law, you can use the links below in the description, or follow our channel, subscribe on all the places where you can find podcasts. But we're excited to see you next time. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.